Alright, so in today's session, let us look at an example to understand the basic concepts of multiple regression on R. And for this particular session, I have used a data from the package car data, and the data is the occupational prestige data for 102 respondents. So let us start then. So if you have already installed the package car data, you need not install it again. In case you have not, you need to install it first and then call the library function. Alright, so the data that I have used is the prestige data. Now we can just view the entire data set by calling the function view. Mind it that V must be in capital letter. So you see here you get the entire data. So it consists of 102 entries, that is 102 respondents, and in total 6 columns. First variable is your education of the respondents, income or average income, and the data is in US dollars. This is the percentage of women in the occupation. This is the prestige point associated with each of the occupation. This is census information, and finally you have the type of profession. So basically this is a categorical variable, and R basically handles the categorical variable using two functions. One is your character function, which stores the categorical variable along with their various categories as character labels. And the other way is to store the categorical variables as factors. Now what factors actually do, it assigns each unique categories of the categorical variable what is called a level. So each factor variables have their levels, and in a nutshell, a level to a factor variable is a unique integer that R automatically assigns. And one of the advantage of a factor variable or storing categorical variable as a factor variable in R is that when you have large number of categories, storing each of the respective categories as character strings can be really troublesome. So that's why we store categorical data in R as factors, and we'll understand how do we exactly store that. Alright, so this is your entire data set, and the first basic thing that as a data analyst we should perform is the exploratory data analysis. So I'm just using a certain histogram and density function for one particular explanatory variable over here, that is your income. You can similarly do for education, prestige, and others. So in order to plot histogram, I have called the function width. You can see the argument width is the function. The first argument is the data on which you are applying, and the second argument is what type of graph you actually want to have. So in the first place I want to have a histogram. So width, prestige, histogram, and which variable is the income variable. So once you click here, you can see that you get the associated histogram of income. Just by looking at this graph, you can easily understand that mode of income variable occurs somewhere near between $5,000 and $10,000, because and mostly your data are concentrated in this class interval. But when your number of class intervals are quite large, in that case your histogram somewhere does not reveal the true information. So how we can actually overcome this is by using this command. So let us understand this command. So the first two is the same thing, that is I am applying histogram of income to the data prestige. Here I have specifically mentioned that the breaks between the class intervals must be of fixed width, that's why it is your FD. Color is for the filling purpose, that is red, and main, that is the title of the graph is your average income in 1970. So once you click it, you can see this is the histogram that we get now. still the data tells you that mode of this particular variable occurs at the class interval nearby 5000. Alright, so this is just a basic understanding of how the income variable is there. Now the next functions that we'll use come from your car package. So again, if you have not installed it, please install it, otherwise you can simply call the car function. Now next thing that I'm doing is I'm plotting a density plot for income, just to understand whether the income variable is normally distributed or it's not normally distributed. So histogram just tells you that more or less it does not look like to be normally distributed random variable. So let's plot another graph. So this is the density plot of income, and you can easily see that your most of the observations lie in this. So this is also called as rug plots, which gives you one-dimensional scatter plot of the income variable. So you can see mostly the data is concentrated, or average income of the respondents more or less is less than $10,000, and this is the density function that we generally get. Again, it does not look like to be a normal distribution. Just to get further information about the distribution function of the variable income over here, what we do is we also plot a quantile comparison plot. Now what quantile comparison plot is, it comes from the car package. It gives you effective graphical means of making the comparison, where on the vertical axis you have the ordered data of this particular variable, and on the x-axis you have the data from the reference distribution. So and these are the corresponding quantiles of the reference distribution. So logic क्या होगा कि अगर if the data follows a normal distribution, so all the points that is the vertical data points must align with the quantiles of the reference distribution. In this case it's a normal distribution. So you can easily get this by the function QQ-plot, which gives you a quantile comparison plot of the variable coming from, so argument is, it starts with the formula and all the formula on the right hand side, that's why you have a tilde sign over here. So this is the variable income, this is the data from which, and this automatically so this argument actually identifies the three main points which more or less are unusual points in your data. So if you plot this, what you get here, this is your quantile comparison plot. So ideal kya hai? So this is the straight line which is the quantile for the reference distribution, and you can see these dotted points which are the variables, that is ordered value of the variables income in this case, and this dotted lines, these are the 95% confidence interval. So ideally, if your data comes from this reference distribution, that is if income is normally distributed random variable, then all the points should necessarily either lie on the straight line or within the confidence, or within this confidence interval, which you can also say that within the sample error. But you can easily find out from here that towards the right hand side there are a lot many data points which are which lies outside the confidence interval, suggesting that the income variable in this case does not follow a normal distribution. And these are the 3 points associated with the occupation, which is lawyers, generals and physicians, which are the 3 most, you can say, unusual points in the data. So as far as the density plot, the quantile comparison plot and the histogram, it suggests that it does not follow a normal distribution. One last univariate graph that we'll do is your box plot. So again, box plot is simply called by the function box plot on income, and data is prestige. So you can see this is the box plot that we get. And now technically a box plot gives you a representation of 50% of the observation. So in this rectangular box, the first line is your first quartile, the last line is your third quartile, and in between this thick line is your median. So basically this rectangular box is your interquartile range, and these are called your these are the points. So this particular point, this straight line, this straight line here, this point is 1.5 times the third quartile, that is above the third quartile, and this point is 1.5 times below the first quartile. So basically box plot gives you roughly an information on the outliers as well. You can see these are the outliers for this particular variable. So by examining the box plot, the quantile comparison plot, the density plot, we are more or less sure that income variable does not follow a normal distribution. So now this was about the graphical plotting of the univariate distribution. By univariate distribution, I mean to talk about one particular variable for which you're drawing these exploratory graphs. The second thing that as a data analyst that we must do all the time is to plot the scatter plots, of the dependent variable with respect to one of the independent variable or explanatory variables in your data. This can again be done using the width function, or a better way of seeing the scatter plot can also be done from the scatter plot function. So both the methods I have listed here. So I can easily call the width function. So width, the data is prestige. I need to plot income. So income will be on x-axis and prestige will be on y-axis. You can easily see that this is the scatter plot that we have for prestige against income, and you can easily see that for income level till 10,000, you can see a kind of systematic increasing trend for the prestige points. But after sufficiently high level of income, more or less the prestige points remain constant at around 80 points. So this is the advantage of plotting the scatter plot. You can also use the scatter plot function, which is just a bit of advanced version of width function. So it automatically lists you 4 main points, which are again the unusual points in the scatter plot. So you can see this is what we generate. These are the box plots for prestige, and this is the box plot for income variable. You can see these are the outliers. Again, this straight line gives you an idea, which is your conditional mean value of prestige, that is your linear regression line, because it assumes a linearity in the parameters. That's why you have a straight line. So basically what it says is, your conditional mean of prestige points go up whenever there is a 1 unit change in income. Now this dotted line, this dashed line that you see, is by default. Scatter plot also gives you a smoothing parameter, which is a non you can say, which does not assume any form of linear relationship amongst the variables. So mainly this is how generally the relation between prestige and income looks like if you do not assume a linear relationship. And these are the dashed dotted lines are the 95% confidence interval around these dashed lines. So this is what the benefit of plotting a scatter plot function for the regression line. So this is your conditional mean of prestige. This is your non-parametric line, that is, it does not assume any form of linear functional relationship, and these are the 95% confidence interval for this parameter. So they are also called as smoothers in scatter plot. We'll talk about smoothers much more in detail when we talk about basic graphics on R. Alright, the same thing you can also call by ggplot, again a very comprehensive package on R for statistical graphics purpose. We'll again discuss about this when we discuss the graphic portion. Okay, alright, so I need to call the function first, which comes from ggplot2. So you see this is generally the scatter plot line of income against education, that the way I have defined my axis. So you can see ggplot on data prestige. These are the aesthetics, which on x-axis I want education. You can change this. On y-axis I want income, and the geometric type that I want is for the line. You can also have point over here. Alright, we'll talk about ggplot again when we discuss the graphics on R. Now if you actually see the data, education, income, these are the numeric variables. Women, this particular variable is a percentage variable, so it more or less it is a restricted range variable. Prestige again is a point. Again, it's a a restricted range variable. Then you have finally the type, which is the type of occupation, and this is a categorical variable. So we already discussed that categorical variable can be stored as factors. So this is what I do next. So what I do is prestige dot type. I define this as variable, and we'll understand this command. So I store this factor as prestige dot type because this is a categorical variable that I have. And if you actually just explore the data in detail, what you see is there are four particular levels of the type of occupation. So one is your BC, stands for blue collar. Then you have prof, which stands for professional and managerial services, and you have WC, which stands for white collar. And there are four particular data which or four particular occupation type which is missing, which has been written as NA. This is how R handles missing values in the data frame. So in total, this type of occupation categorical variable has three categories, and which can be stored as levels. So that's what I've done over here. So as factor prestige dot type, I want to convert this as factor, and the levels of this factor is blue collar, white collar, and professional services. Now so we have defined this as a prestige dot type, and now what I'll do is the next thing that we simply do is again plotting the scatter plot. Now instead of plotting prestige with respect to income, what we'll do is we'll plot prestige against income. Again, income will be on x-axis, but now the points will be marked according to this level of the factor. That's why, so this is how it should be read. That is, you're plotting prestige against income. You're plotting, this is your y, this is your x, but for a given level of the factor. So that's what this command is. Alright, so let's understand this command once. So I'm plotting prestige against income, but now the points will be marked according to the type of the factor. Data is your prestige. This is the legend. So by default, if you do not mention this legend to be in bottom right, scatter plot by default plots or prints the legend on the topmost of the graph. So here what I've done is I've purposely plotted or printed the legend on the bottom right part. Then the next command is your inset, and last command is smooth. So smooth is there for the smoothers that scatterplot use, and by default scatterplot uses lowest smooth. Let me write it over here. So this is the smoothing parameter that scatterplot automatically uses, and mostly this is a roughly approximation of a polynomial polynomial functions or polynomial smoothing parameters. This span, which I have set it to be 0.9, this span actually is the fraction of the data which will be used to determine the fitted values of y at each x. So if you have smaller value of span, then you'll have very curvy plot. If you have larger value of span, you have more or less the roughly approximation of the data. So this is what the command will look like. Now you can see once you run the command, you have three different lines according to the type of the factor. So, and the legends are automatically assigned by R. So this is for your professional and managerial services. This pink is for your white collar, and the last is your blue collar. You can easily verify from this graph that the steepest rise for a given change in income with respect to prestige is for the blue collar jobs, and roughly white collar jobs and professional services more or less are parallel. That is more or less for a given change in income, prestige points for these two profession types more or less increases by the same value. Alright, so the next thing that we do is we plot a three-dimensional scatter plot of the regression that we are about to undertake. Now this can be plotted using scatter 3D function, which again comes with car package. So what basically we'll do is we'll assume that there are three variables. So one variable is a dependent variable, and the two other variables are your explanatory variables. So basically we plot a three-dimensional graph of the regression plane that is mainly estimated for a multivariate or you can say multiple linear regression model. So the next thing that we do is plot a three-dimensional scatter plot. So for that I call this function scatter 3D. Again you can see Prestige is regressed on income and education. Data is from Prestige, so this is the same LM formula that mostly will have. And this again identifies three unusual points on your regression plane. Alright, so this you can see is the graph that we generate. This is the regression plane. You can click left click on with mouse and you can zoom it to see. So this is the regression plane that we have as far as this data is concerned. So this is Prestige, this is your Y, and education and income are the two explanatory variables. You can easily just rotate this graph to actually make sense with. So this is your regression plane. It has an intercept at this point, and this is how the linear regression plane looks like. And if you just increase it further, what you'll notice is that these circular distances that you have, they are nothing but your residuals. So and these are three main unusual points which have been automatically identified by this scatter 3D function. One is for your general manager, the other for your lawyers, and the last one is for your physicians. So this is the scatter 3D plot of the regression plane that we actually estimate when we have this multiple linear regression involving Prestige against income and education. You can easily check all this just by rotating the graph. This is much more easier to see. You can actually make sense with what we actually do when we run a regression, or when we have a multiple linear regression. So this is basically how your regression plane looks like. Alright, so the next thing that we do is, again after plotting this, so this just gives you an information. It gives you a way to understand how your regression plane looks like in the 3 dimension. Obviously for more than 3 dimension it is very difficult to draw, and that's why we are just discussing the 3 dimension. But you can just do this exercise for yourself, and you get more and more clarity about what exactly regression plane and what linear regression is all about. Next, what we do is, when we have multiple linear regression model, we want to plot a pairwise correlation of each of the variables against them. That can be done by two functions. One is your pairs, which comes from the ggli package, and the other is your scatter plot matrix, which again does the same thing. So what I have done over here, I have plotted a scatter plot matrix of Prestige, income, education, women from the data Prestige. So you can see here, this is the scatter plot that we generate. Again, these diagonal elements are mostly the density function of the variable itself. You can easily see from here that income again looks like a positively skewed distribution. You have education, which more or less looks like having a double more, and then you again have the proportion of women, which is a percentage term. That's why you see numbers are quite stacked towards a boundary, in this case towards the value 0 over here. Now these are the graphs which are the correlation graphs of Prestige with income, Prestige with education, Prestige with women type. Again, this first graph is correlation of income with Prestige, correlation of income with education, correlation of income with women. Now just let us understand this graph, what actually this. So this thick line is your linear regression line, assuming the linear function. This again dashed line is your parameter, that is which does not assume any functional form or linear functional form of the relationship. And this dashed dotted lines are again your 95% confidence interval around this smoothing parameter. By default, scatter plot uses the smoothing parameter, which is your LOESS, which is mostly a polynomial smoothing parameter. So this is your pairwise correlation graph, and again you can see that this rug plot is your one-dimensional value for the prestige, that is gives you the data of for the prestige. Again, you can say income data, your education data, your proportion of women data. So this is how you actually understand this graph. Now, after exploring the data that we have done using all these functions, so this basically exploratory data analysis actually helps you understand the probability density function of each of the explanatory variables or the response variables that you have. Scatter plot matrix actually gives you an idea how the pairwise correlation amongst these response or predictor variables are actually there for this particular example. So just whenever you have any data, the first thing that you should do is to perform exploratory data analysis, and that you should always keep in mind. Okay, next what we do is we run a regression, and it's a multiple linear regression. Now on our multiple linear regression are run using the command which is your LM. LM stands for linear model. So again, what I'll do here is I have stored this regression under the regression variable, under the variable reg. So you can see this is the LM, which is your linear model command. Prestige is my response variable. So I'm regressing prestige on education. I have taken logarithm of income with base 2 precisely because more or less this data looks to me a bit of skewed data. So what we do is we simply it's a form of transformation. We'll talk about transformations in a separate video altogether. But just for this example, what we have done is we have applied logarithm of income variable, and we have taken the logarithm to the base 2. You can take logarithm to the base 10, logarithm to the base exponent, the way it suits your data. In this particular example, I have applied the transformation, which is a logarithm transformation, and the base is 2. So this is the regression that I have run. Now either I can use summary function, which is your summary reg, or you can simply have the capital S. That will also give you the same thing. So now if you actually see this, or if you actually want to interpret this, you can easily understand that the first line gives you the formula of this linear regression model. This is the various statistic for the residuals from this regression model. These are the coefficients. So you can easily see that in this case education variable has a coefficient of 3.7305. Log to income has 9.3147, women has 0.0469, and you can see that the p-value associated with the t statistic of women is very large, indicating that this particular coefficient or this particular variable is insignificant for your regression. Now how do we exactly understand these coefficient estimates? That's what the next thing we should understand. So education having a coefficient value of 3.74 or 73 to round it off means that if education increases by 1 unit, average increase or average change in the mean value of prestige goes up by 3.73 prestige units in whichever units of measurement the variable has been expressed. Second is your log to income, which is your explanatory variable in this case, and it has a coefficient of 9.3147. Now mostly when you have logarithm applied to a variable, what it generally means is, so changing that variable by 1 unit mostly pertains to proportional change, because in that case you are not talking about the absolute change in the variable, but more or less changing log of any variable with base 2 by 1 unit is roughly doubling that variable. So you can also interpret in this particular example as that when income doubles, because when you increase log income with base 2 by 1, automatically it means that income is doubled, or income to the power. So in this case, if doubling the income of the respondents leads to an increase in the average or conditional mean of prestige by 9.3147 prestige units. This is how we explain this here. And then finally you have women explanatory variables. So basically it talks about a hypothetical proportion of occupants जिसमें सिर्फ women है. So keeping education and income fixed, what it says that there is a increase of 4.7 prestige units when there is when there is an increase in the proportion of women incumbents by 1 unit. And so what it basically means is that if you have sample, on one sample you just have men, and the other sample you just have hypothetical women in there. So this particular coefficient tells you that whenever there is an increase in 1 unit of the proportionate data in the women sample, it leads to an increase of 4.7 prestige units. But you can easily see even from the graph that more or less when you have income and education as explanative variable explicitly in the model, this proportion of women does not explain any, or this particular variable, explanative variable, does not explain any increase in the conditional mean of prestige points. And this is also ably indicated by this associated p-value of the t statistic. And rest all other are your simple statistic. This is your standard error of regression or residual. There are 98 degrees of freedom because it automatically skips 4 values because of missing data. Now you have multiple r squared, you have adjusted r squared. This is the f statistic for the model, and the p-value is very less. So you can say roughly for this particular example that model is a good fit just on the basis of f statistic. Alright, so this is how regression should be understood. And now we saw that women does not explain that much variation in prestige points once you have education and income explicitly in the model. Next thing what we do is we rerun a regression now including type from the prestige data. So again I'll simply call SREG1. You can also use the summary function. Now again you get, so you can see here though in this particular example we only have 3 explanative variables, but in total we have 5 explanative variables over here, that is education, income and type of the occupation. But since occupation type has 3 categories, and if you just have some very basic knowledge on dummy variables, what we generally understand that if a dummy variable has m categories, the number of dummies that are assigned if you have an intercept term included in the model should be 1 less than the categories. That's why this type of occupation has 3 categories, so we have got 2 dummies created for the occupational type. So you can see type WC, type prof. It means the intercept term is for the type blue collar. So you can easily, now how do we actually understand this regression is, when you do not have an interaction term of the numerics with the factor variables, so in that case the slope for each of the levels of the factor is same because there is no interaction term, but they differ in their intercept parameter. So in this particular example, the intercept parameter for the blue collar occupation type, which is the base category over here, is your minus 81.2019. And if you want to calculate the intercept parameter for white collar job, you just simply minus 81.2019 plus minus of 1.4394, and for type professional services you simply add these two values. So basically when you do not have an interaction term of dummies or factors with the numeric predictors, what we generally have is that the dummies, they just differ in their slope intercept parameters. It's when you have an interaction factor of the numerics with the dummy or the slope dummy variables, in that case you have differential slope parameters, which we'll understand in the next part. So now if you actually you can see summary from this regression, that's what we have just done. Now the next thing that we'll do is, whatever predictors that we have used in our model, we'll try to understand each of those individual predictor effects on the fitted values from this regression. And for that I need to use effects package from the car package. So what I'll do is I'll call library effects. So these are this comes from the car package. So now what I do is I take, so let us just only plot for reg1. So you see, predictor effects is the function which gives you the effects of each of the individual predictors on the regression that we have run, and I just plot it. So plot is the original function. This argument passes to predictor effects. So first we have the regression results with us. On that I inserted a command, or I ran a command of predictor effects, which will give me the effects of predictors on this particular regression, and I just plot them. So if you just see that, this is a very nice graph that comes to you. So basically you can see in this particular, so the first plot is for the prestige, that is your response variable, plotted against education. Again, these are the RUG codes, which are the one-dimensional values of the education data. So basically you can see that, and this shaded line gives you 95% confidence interval around this fitted value. So you can see that roughly education and prestige has got a linear relationship, meaning which it tells you that for across all the values for education in this interval, average value of prestige goes up linearly. Now the second graph is quite interesting, because still your x variable in this case is income, and that's why you see a graph over here. So what basically just it tells you that for income level greater than 10,000, or at this point, if I just consider this to a break point, the average increase in prestige value does not increase, or it flattens out for larger values of income. And for smaller values of income, there is this faster increase in the prestige point associated with the smaller values of income. This is how you should understand this predictor effect plot. And the last one is these are the intercept associated with the blue collar, the white collar, and the professional. So for each of the factor type you have, these are the intercept associated with the predictors. So this is again a very, very important step that you should always do. Alright, so now let us look and try and understand that what happens if we have an interaction term, that is, instead of these levels of the factor just differing in their intercept parameter, what if they also differ in their slope parameters? So when you just have just also get these terminologies right. When you have a linear regression model where you have only factors in the explainatory variables, or the predictors, they are called as ANOVA models, or analysis of variance models. But when you also have predictors apart from factors also as numerics, that is when you have combination of numerics and predictors variables and in a linear model, such models are called your ANCOVA models, or analysis of covariance models. So these are the terminologies that you should keep in mind. So now what I do is I introduce an interaction term of with each type of the factor variable that you have with the education and income explanatory variables. So what I do here is either I can you can simply go back and run a regression again. So what I do is regression LM. I want to have prestige against. Now what I do is, since I want an interaction term of each of the factor type or level with respect to education and with respect to education, so either you can simply write them using the star multiplication command, or there is a shortcut or shorthand way of writing interaction terms on R is through the semicolon. So you can see over here what I'll do is I'll just run this prestige and I'll have type semicolon, and I want to have an interaction term of education plus log 2 income. Yeah. And the data I want is from prestige. So you'll get the same thing, the result that I have, but let me explain you what exactly I have done over here. Instead of running this regression again, what I can also do is I can call update function. What it does is this update function, it updates an object which has already been run previously. So what I do is I update my regression 1, that is reg1, comma, dot, tilde sign, dot, plus, now I want an interaction term of type with education, type with log to income, and the data that I have is prestige. So if you run both the command, you can simply say sreg2. Now you see, in total we still have only 3 explanatory variables, but now you have in total, including intercept, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 explanatory variables, or 9 coefficient estimates or coefficient parameters that have been estimated in this particular regression. Now again, what you should understand over here is that now the in this particular regression, now each levels of the factor variables, they differ in the intercept, and they also differ in their slope parameters, and which is precisely, you have this education type WC, education type prof, log to income types WC, log to income type prof. So you must understand that the baseline of this model will be for blue collar jobs, so, or you can say blue collar occupation type. So all the respective comparison in this particular example will be done on the basis of the benchmark category. In this case, the benchmark category is for the type of profession blue collar to be 0. So you can easily see that these are the, and now you can easily find out the slope parameters for each of the factors separately, because now these factors, they themselves have an interaction with the numerics over here. So that's why each of the factors, or each of the levels of the factors, will have different slopes as well. Alright, so now the last thing that I do is I plot predictor effect of reg2 with respect to education, and you can simply do for all the other explanatory variables as well. So, and let me just explain you the command that I've done. So simply, if you just plot this command, that is, if you just do not mention, so what you get is, you get 3 separate plots like this. So instead of this, what I've done is I have simply inserted this argument lines, and where multi-line is equal to true. So again, same thing, but in one particular graph that you get. So again, you can verify from here, the line for the white collar job is steepest with respect to education, and more or less professional services and blue collar job are more or less parallel to each other. So we'll stop here. This is just one example of understanding the various nuances of multiple linear regression on R. You can easily perform all these exercises on any data that you have got. I'll again repeat what we have talked about. So the moment you get data, first you just explore the data by calling view function or head function or tail function. Then you perform certain exploratory data analysis for each of the variables that you have. Then you go for the scatter plots. Then you go for the scatter plot matrix, which gives you the pairwise correlation. And then on the basis of these information, you start running your model. You start estimating a model, whether any variables need to be transformed or not. If not transformed, then run on the original model. If it needs to be transformed, then transform the variable first. In this particular example, we transform the income variable into logarithm variables with base 2. Just by looking at the density function of income, which through quantile plots and also box plots, we were able to conclude that it does not come from a normal distribution variable. Alright, so I'll stop here. In the next session, we'll take from this session ahead.